You found your way to Whispers of Crimes, a quiet corner where the shadows of the past are gently told. Here, we speak of real crimes and mysteries, not to shock or scare, but to wonder, to reflect, and maybe to help you fall asleep. So close your eyes, let your thoughts slow down, and come with me into tonight's case. In the crowded lanes of Delhi, a man offered food, friendship, and death. Dismembered bodies began appearing near India's most infamous prison, not dumped. Delivered, with notes daring the police to catch him. This isn't fiction. This is the story of Chandrakant Jha, the serial killer who turned trust into terror. Chapter 1. From the fields of Bihar to the alleys of Delhi, Chandrakant Jha was born in 1967 in the remote village of Gosai in Bihar, one of India's poorest states. Life there was hard. Families relied on subsistence farming, and the path to prosperity was nearly non-existent. For young Chandrakant, the harsh realities of rural poverty weren't just background noise, they were his identity. But what separated him from the thousands of others living under similar conditions? That question would haunt investigators years later. Jha wasn't educated beyond the basics. By his teens, he had already shown signs of defiance, an unwillingness to bow to authority, a simmering resentment toward anyone who crossed him. But in a society that didn't have the luxury of psychological evaluation, these traits went unnoticed. In the late 1990s or early 1990s, Jha migrated to Delhi, joining thousands of others chasing survival in the crowded lanes of India's capital. He settled in areas like Hyderabad and Jahanjapuri, taking odd jobs, eventually working as a vegetable vendor. He lived quietly, earned a small but steady income, and blended into the chaos of city life. To neighbors, he was a little polite but distant. Some said he was overly controlling, especially about cleanliness and food. Few paid much attention to the man selling vegetables, but inside that man was a storm waiting to be unleashed. The question wasn't if it would erupt, it was when. Chapter 2. A Taste for Blood, the first known killing. The year was 1998. That's when Chandrakant Jha's name first entered police records. Tied to a brutal murder, he was arrested for the killing of a man named Radheshyam, allegedly over a trivial argument. The cause, a dispute over personal hygiene and food choices. Jha, a devout vegetarian, despised those who ate meat, and Radheshyam, unfortunately, had made that mistake. It was a glimpse into how Jha's mind worked, rigid, obsessive, and unforgiving. But the case fell apart. There wasn't enough evidence. No clear witnesses, no forensic trail. Jha walked free. For the next few years, he disappeared into the crowd again, working, watching, waiting. During this period, his wife and children, yes, Jha had a family, lived separately. He rarely spoke of them. His double life continued undisturbed. Then, in 2003, the silence shattered. One morning, Delhi police were called to a scene near Tihar jail. A plastic bag sat in the open. Inside were human body parts, dismembered, arranged, almost like a statement. It was just the beginning. Chapter 3. The killer who loved attention. Unlike many serial killers who operate in shadows, hiding their tracks, Chandrakant Jha didn't just want to kill. He wanted recognition, and he got it. Between 2003 and 2007, a series of gruesome discoveries rocked the capital. Dismembered bodies, often wrapped in plastic, were found near public places, especially around Tihar jail. The police were horrified, not just by the brutality, but by what accompanied the remains. Notes, handwritten messages, mocking the Delhi police, calling them incompetent, daring them to catch him. Sometimes he'd include chilling instructions or insults. These weren't random killings, they were calculated acts of ego, control, and vengeance. He started playing a cat-and-mouse game with law enforcement, and each letter made one thing clear. Jha didn't just hate his victims. He hated the system, the police, the structure that had once arrested him and then let him go. There was method in his madness. The victims were mostly poor, young male migrants, just like Jha had once been, but now he was in control. He offered them food, shelter, even friendship. And then, when they slipped up according to his twisted logic, he executed them. And every time he delivered a body, he made sure the police knew it was him. No hiding, just taunting. Chapter 4. Friends Who Never Walked Out. Perhaps the most disturbing element of Jay's crimes was his choice of victims. These weren't strangers. They were men he knew personally. He met them on job sites, brought them into his home, shared meals, sometimes let them stay rent-free. Many were young, naive, alone in the city. They saw Jha as a mentor, a protector, maybe even a friend. And he exploited that trust to the fullest. He would observe their habits. If they violated his strict moral code, eating meat, drinking, behaving disrespectfully, he would snap. The punishment was death. Jha often used strangulation, usually with a rope. It was intimate, personal. Then came the dismemberment, carried out with clinical precision. He wrapped the parts carefully, as if honoring some perverse ritual. In some cases, he even cooked food in the same house after committing the murder. He wasn't just killing, he was cleansing, in his own twisted view, purging the impure. These weren't just murders, they were executions, dictated by the arbitrary court in Jha's mind. And the scariest part? No one knew, until it was far too late. Chapter 5. Delhi's Phantom. How could someone commit such heinous crimes repeatedly without getting caught? Simple. Chandrakant Jha was smart, disciplined, and careful. He used multiple addresses. He changed jobs often. He lived in low-rent areas with little oversight. He avoided digital trails, didn't use banks, and operated in a world where the police had limited reach. His victims were mostly undocumented laborers, people who wouldn't be missed quickly, if at all. Even when he left bodies in public, there were no usable fingerprints, no surveillance footage, no witnesses. And those mocking notes, they didn't carry enough forensic evidence to trace him. To the Delhi police, he was a ghost, a shadow. Meanwhile, rumors swirled among laborers and locals. Stories of a man who offered help only for people to vanish afterward. But without formal complaints or missing person reports, the police had nothing to work with. For nearly 5 years, Jha haunted the city, not from the shadows, but from its very heart. Chapter 6. Capture and Confession. In May 2007, everything changed. Chandrakant Jha murdered a young man named Amit. The details were gruesome, as usual. Dismemberment, a note, and a body dumped near Tihar jail. But this time, investigators found a few key clues, a break in the pattern. Witnesses had seen Amit last with Jha. Surveillance was increased. His previous arrest record resurfaced. Police picked him up for questioning. At first, Jha denied everything. But as evidence mounted, he broke. And when he confessed, it was chilling. He admitted to at least 18 murders. He described his process in detail. How he chose his victims, how he punished them, how he cleaned the blood, how he packed the body parts. There was no remorse in his voice, just matter-of-fact retelling. Jha even led police to the scenes of his crimes. It was as if he wanted them to know everything, now that the game was over. In 2013, Chandrakant Jha was sentenced to death by the Delhi court for multiple murders. But in 2016, the death sentence was commuted to life imprisonment due to legal technicalities and the argument that only 6 murders were proven in court. And now, he resides in Tihar jail, the same place near which he had once left his messages. Chapter 7. The Psychology of a Predator? Who is Chandrakant Jha, really? Psychologists and criminologists who studied his case paint a complex picture. He exhibited strong traits of antisocial personality disorder, a lack of empathy, disregard for human life, manipulation, and a deep-seated need for control. But he was more than that. He was disciplined, methodical, calculated. He wasn't insane. He understood what he was doing. He just didn't care. His resentment toward authority, likely stemming from early life experiences, morphed into hatred. His need to dominate, to be seen, to control others' lives and deaths gave him a sense of power he never had growing up. And through it all, he managed to stay under the radar, because he knew exactly how invisible his victims were to the rest of the world. In the end, Chandrakant Jha became a symbol of a darker truth about how society sometimes overlooks the marginalized and how that blind spot can be exploited by monsters hiding in plain sight. That was the horrifying story of Chandrakant Jha, vegetable vendor by day, serial killer by night. A man who turned trust into a weapon and left behind a trail of terror, one dismembered body at a time. That's all for tonight's story. Another thread in the web of true crime, quietly unraveling as the night goes on. If you're still with me, thanks for listening. And if sleep has already taken you, may your dreams be peaceful and your mind at ease. I'll be here next time by the fire with another story waiting to be told. Good night, and don't forget to lock your doors.